Welcome to another edition of Connect with Ivy Tech. I'm your host, Phil Quinn, Marketing Coordinator for the Ivy Tech Richmond and Connersville campus. Thank you for being with us as we get started in a new year. We have a new list of programs bringing to you and different insights of both the Richmond and also the Connersville campus. We're also taking some classes and doing some work in Rushville. You can find out more about those opportunities, especially the 8-week courses. We'll talk more about that in just a second, by going to ivytech.edu/Richmond, or you can go to ivytech.edu/Connersville. Chris Bottomley is our guest. He is an academic advisor, and he is also a college connection coach. And you work primarily in the Connersville campus, but you make it to Richmond every now and then to help advising too. So thank you for being with us today.
Yep. Glad to be here.
I want to talk briefly about college connection coaches, because that is something new, and maybe a lot of us watching today aren't quite familiar with what that means. What does a college connection coach mean?
Well, through Connersville High School, one of my job duties there is to meet with every senior or every graduate, because we could have some early grads, and find out what their plans are when they leave the high school. We want 100% plans, every student that leaves that school. I try to impress 3 E's on them, either enlistment, employment, or enrolled when they get out of our school system. And so them are the 3 things that we talk about. I interview every senior or early grad one-on-one the entire time till we get the green. As I say, they got one of the 3, and then that's a success story for us. I think last year we had 262 kids maybe, and we had 3 that did not have plans when they graduated, so we had a pretty good number. So this year I'm shooting for 100% of our kids having plans when they get out of there. That's
a wonderful. So it's enlisting,
enrollment or employment.
I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're always aware of all of the job opportunities that are available, but there's a lot of times when you talk to a high school kid, they say, whatever it is, I just want to get out. I just want to get out and go. But there are a lot of students that graduate, a traditional student, I guess, that wants to make an impact in their hometown. How much of a mix do you see with the students that you talk to?
Well, I mean, to that nature, every student that I talk to has plans, or we're hoping to have a plan. So if it is an employment situation and they're not sure what they're going to do, I will help them, go towards that goal of trying to get employment in town. We are hiring in Fayette County, and we have a pretty low unemployment rate, but there's plenty of jobs. Hopefully these kids are 18 so they can get in those places. If they're a little bit younger than that, we have to go a different route though. But there's jobs to be had, and they can get jobs if employment is what they want to do. And that's important. We need kids that still want to go straight into a factory and work and do those things. And obviously if they want to make more money, they're going to have to get more educated and get more education, and that's the next step of going to the next level. So
that's what we keep hearing. Yeah. We certainly hear that you can graduate with a diploma, you can find a job, but if you want to advance in that job, it's not just putting in 25 years. It actually takes some additional education, and that's where those certificate programs and really technical certificates, that's where those come in really handy. Share a little bit about those with us.
So, obviously, wanting to move on and do things or make more money and certificate-wise, one thing great about Ivy Tech is it is a community college, so that they try to build programs and do things that are good for your community. And so, Connersville's different than Richmond, obviously. Yeah. And so we're trying to reach out and find kids and do things that are good for our community to help us grow in our city. Obviously, we have educated kids. We want them to stay in our community, not leave and go somewhere else and work. So if we can get them educated, keep them where we're at, and we're not dealing with as many first-generation students that are going for the first time to a college, and their parents and grandparents or anybody in their family has never done any of that. So if we can keep them educated, keep them in our city, I think it'll be a good thing for us.
Yeah. I like to call these eyebrow-raising moments. There's a time when you know that you've connected with a student and where they really just heard you, maybe for the first time, about the benefits of going to Ivy Tech. What are some of those things that, as you're talking to students, when you offer or talk about enrollment in the price per tuition, or that you can get a degree in 2 years, or what you could make with this degree, when do you see a lot of the most raised eyebrows? Really?
Yeah.
When does that happen?
It's tough for high school kids for some reason to understand how much college costs, because money doesn't mean much to them. They might say it does, but they don't understand when you're $20,000-$30,000, into one college, and you can come to Ivy Tech and get your whole degree for $10,000 to $12,000, and you're doing 1 year at a Ball State, or you can go on and on to the private schools where they're a lot more expensive and they're spending a lot more money, and then when their debt when they get out for the same job they could possibly have through just a 2-year program through Ivy Tech is tremendous when they're paying $100 a month for 20 years back, or they're debt free after 1 year with the same job. So, but you know what? Every student is a little different, and that's the college connection side of me coming out. If they want the college experience and they want to pay for it, it's there. And so the 4-year institutions are for them if they need that be. But people that want to make money and do the right things, I mean, Ivy Tech's there for them. And of course, it's community based, which is awesome. And it's a great situation for our students. And every student that I talk to has a different idea and a different layout, how they want to, their pathway to go. And that's what we talk about.
Yeah, yep, it's true. A lot of you notice that Chris is wearing his Connorsville jacket as you're watching this program, and we air on Friday nights in a lot of our areas. You're probably sitting on the sidelines along the bench, helping with the basketball team for Connorsville. I think a lot of people will know you from that. Student athletes, they are a different type of student. They generally come to an employer with some additional skills, the idea of practice and the commitment and working as a team, those kind of things. As you look at those student athletes, a lot of them will pursue college and that different programs. But what is different about playing a role as a coach, talking to those student athletes, and what are they offering that's a little bit different than a regular student?
Well, I mean, we as coaches try to hold our kids, our student athletes, to accountable for everything they do. We hold them accountable for their actions and being on time to practice and doing the right things, and we challenge them more, and they're looked at not as a student anymore at the school. They're the basketball player,
right?
And so they have to behave and do the right things in the classroom. They're held to a higher standard sometimes. All athletes
they're having to do that outside the classroom too.
Yeah, community is very important. Parents don't have to wonder what their kids are doing because everybody else is watching them too, and they will let their parents know. So they can't hide, and so it is a good thing. I mean, obviously, besides being a better athlete, we're as coaches trying to teach to be a better person, to later in life be a better husband or wife, or to be a better father. Just the growth of competing for a better position in a job employment scenario. So those are the things that obviously we as coaches, that's the most important part of us. Yeah. For us. I mean, we don't get Division I players very often. But all the rest of the students who play their role and do their good things that they do for their team to make it one place. Obviously, when they go to a work situation, hopefully they're a team player, yeah, and they're going to do what's best for their place of employment at that time.
He is Connorsville through and through, Chris Bottomley. He's an academic advisor and also a college connection coach with Ivy Tech at the Connorsville campus. People can just stop by and see you at our location down there and get some advice, and really in any walk of life, not just necessarily traditional student. You're really to help anybody.
That's true. And they do. They come in and see us. I love it.
It's great. Connorsville is a growing campus. It is one of the highest growing campuses that we have in the Ivy Tech system. You can learn more about it by going to ivytech.edu/Connorsville. More of Connect with Ivy Tech in just a moment.
Quick question. Can everybody hear me okay if I speak like this? Yeah, okay. As a teacher, me standing behind the podium is not a good idea. So I'm going to be randomly roaming around the room. Don't get nervous. I'm not going to tap on you and call you on any questions, okay? So it'll be okay. So she said, my name is Scott Caldwell. You can skip a couple of these. Picture from Mom and Dad when they got the award a few years ago. So it's something that's a great pride with our family. Farm since 1813, so it's 3 years older in the state of Indiana. It also, that little factor right there helped me in 4th grade Indiana history class because Indiana is the 16th state, or excuse me, it's the 19th state. So 13 for our farm, 16th the state of Indiana, 19th state, so every 3 years. So I was able to helped me pass Indiana history class. So agriculture was useful for Indiana history. It was great. Just like my dad, I went to Purdue. Just like my dad, I double majored. Just just like my dad, while I was at Purdue, I worked for the Indiana 4-H office. Just like my dad, I came out of college, I started teaching agriculture. I've also got my dad's hairline. I couldn't get away from it. But what happened is my dad was the ag teacher for 19 years in science, for about 6.5 at Union County High School. This is a picture of my son Jonathan at Ivy Tech, at McDaniel Hall where I teach. One of my great memories growing up was getting to go to the school where Dad was teaching. Go there in the summers, and Dad's working, and I got to run the hallways. And I was running errands for him, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I didn't realize how comfortable I was getting in school until years later. And now it's a great pleasure for me when my kids get to come and visit or get to come hang out with me. And so I took this picture a while back of my son Jonathan walking the hallways, and there it just reminded me of growing up and education and the tradition that's there. So what I wanted to do tonight was, they kind of gave me free rein. When they asked me to come, I'd given them a couple ideas. They said, we just want you to talk about Ivy Tech agriculture. I was like, I can do that. Pathways in Purdue program. This is an amazing opportunity, and I'm a big supporter of Purdue. I'm a Purdue graduate, but we have what's called Pathways to Purdue, where you come to Ivy Tech for 2 years, and then you can go to Purdue and start as a junior. Let me put this in perspective real quick here for you. Okay? Our tuition is about $4,000 a year right now. You're able to stay home. You're able to help out on the family farm or whatever job it is that you've got going on. We've got students that are still able to help in their local 4-H and FFA programs, other clubs and activities that they're doing, all those types of things. Tuition about $4,000 a year. I've got one friend who's got a child up at Purdue. Tuition at Purdue is about $10,000 a year. When we look at housing and room and board, they're spending about $35,000 a year. So in those 2 years that you come to Ivy Tech before you can transfer up there, you can spend around $8,000, and you can spend around $70,000. Seems like an interesting choice to make, right? As return on investment. Right? And the opportunities are there. And what's really interesting is just this week, Forbes magazine put out a study, published a study. And this was on January the 30th, so very, very recent. And they were talking about what are we doing to make kids successful in college? And what are colleges doing? And here's what they found out. If a student transfers from one 4-year college to another, it's a 61% chance that they'll graduate. One 4-year college to another, 61% chance that they'll graduate. If a student goes straight from high school to a 4-year college, 73%. If they go to a 2-year college and then transfer, 75%. So from 61 to 73 to 75. And that's a national average. You say, okay, well that's national average. Indiana, we're unique, right? We're different. Purdue commissioned a study and asked about their own students. And the transfer students that were coming in, Ivy Tech and some other schools, those students were more likely to graduate and to graduate on time than people who went straight into Purdue. The community college offers an opportunity to work in understanding what's going on and be in a comfortable situation, a great learning environment, and they're getting into Purdue. So our degree for agriculture, in this case, we've got 2 different main options. You can graduate and go out into the workforce. You can take the track that would be able to transfer into another college. So we work with Purdue, being in-state. Ivy Tech in general has agreements with colleges all across the state of Indiana. But we also work with colleges out of state as well. I've got one young lady who's getting ready to graduate from Kansas State University in animal nutrition. She came to me for 2 years, went out to K-State. They took all her credits. Out-of-state tuition. And for people who say, that's just one college, what was it for her getting in? Well, Addie, in this case, she was accepted at Ohio State, University of Missouri, Texas A&M, and K-State with an Ivy Tech degree. It's not a junior college. It's It's not the junior varsity. It's not a backup plan. It's a real plan for success, is what we're able to offer. I had an opportunity to speak to a group recently, and I asked all our campuses around the state, I asked all the other program chairs, I said, tell me how many years teaching experience you guys have. And in our 7 campuses, there's a combined 391 years of teaching experience on our 7 campuses. So in that 27 years per campus range. So we have some great opportunities. So we've got, on our campus, I'm instructing, I've been in education about 20 years. We've got Jerry Stamper, who's in his first year of teaching, doing stuff with our hydroponics and aquaponics stuff, and he's got his own business that learned to do that, and he's teaching those things. And we've got the great experience and my pleasure having Don Sturgeon teaching for us as well. So teaching our soils classes, teaching our animal science classes, that's an amazing thing. I also have to tell you kind of a funny story. I think, Don, you knew me when I was born, right? When my dad was teaching. So I grew up, remember I said I grew up walking the halls of Union County High School. My dad's an ag teacher, and I was in Connersville FFA chapter, and I knew Mr. Sturgeon for years as Mr. Sturgeon. And the first time I was hired, and I came in, he looks at me and goes, hey, boss. And I'm like, who's that? You know, it's the strangest thing for me, but it's great being able to have that experience to be able to rely on. So our degrees, I mentioned, we've got the Associate of Applied Science and the Associate of Science, the transfer options, so 2 different paths that you can take. Okay? We also have some certificates that are designed to be done in 1 year. So we have grain systems. That one came out of the Columbus campus, where the industry came to that campus and said, we've got some needs where we need some people trained. Can we put together an opportunity to get these people classes to get a certification for them? And we took classes that were existing and put all that together, and there it is. We've got the landscape technician class as well, or certificate as well. And then for Richmond, and each campus gets to pick and choose what they need, which is the really cool thing. We're not dictated. The systems office in Indianapolis isn't saying, thou shalt teach this. We're told, thou shalt teach what is needed. You pick. You choose. You decide. You're responsible. And so for us, when we look at the certificates, there's an urban horticulture and a hydroculture certificates. And so we're offering both of those in the Richmond area, trying to offer them on a rotating basis. And so the hydroculture, looking at hydroponics, aquaponics, aquaculture, going through that. The urban horticulture will deal with some of the alternative growing methods. We're going to talk about greenhouse management, areas like that, because there's a need in the industry for those. But one of the really cool things that we've got that's coming down the pipe here to share with you, and I know that I've talked to the ag teachers about this, using the dual credit classes, high school classes that these kids are taking and getting agriculture credit, we've got 5 certificates that are coming out. Now I mentioned these other certificates take a year to go through. That's 6 classes. These certificates are going to take 3 dual credit classes. So we offer those classes also at Ivy Tech, so it's an opportunity. You don't have to be the high school student to get it. You can still get it at Ivy Tech. But a lot of the students are going to be working with this. So ag business management, animal agribusiness, plant production, food science, and horticulture landscape. Opportunities for high school students to be able to get this certificate if they're going to go right out into the industry. And they count as an Ivy Tech graduate. How cool would that be for your child, your grandchild, you? I'm talking to the FFA kids over here. To be able to take those dual credit classes, and as a sophomore, junior in high school, you put on a cap and gown and walk across the Ivy Tech stage. So we've got over 80 agriculture courses. If you're curious about those, I've got stuff on the table over here next to the creepy horse skeleton. See that? And I believe we decided on the name was Mr. Education. Okay. Actually, social media vote. That was actually a write-in vote, and we went with that. We had a couple others that we thought were pretty brilliant, and somebody mentioned that. We were like, why did we not think of that? We wouldn't have even voted. That would have been automatically the winner, right? So, yeah. So he's over there as well. But you can see the classes that we've got. It's got the names, it's got descriptions, and you can also see the classes that we take, the degrees and certificates are over there as well. One of the things we're really proud of is how we work with people. We're not saying one company is where our focus is. So another poll that I did was with our ag chairs across the state, and I asked them, hey, tell me what seed companies you work with. And we also put in a few others. We talked about something like Deere and Case and Bain Welker there. So we looked at the implement dealers as well. But with the seed companies, I didn't do the math totally in there, but just off the top of my head, thinking back when everybody was sending me stuff, I think everybody worked with about half a dozen different seed companies at every campus. Sometimes it was to get seed for the farm. Sometimes it was asking their agronomist or their salespeople to come in and speak in class. Get those experts to come in and talk about, hey, this is what I'm doing. I can talk about some of those things, but not all of it. And they could say, this is what my everyday job is. So this morning in my Ag Business Management class, we had Jane H. Stevens from the Indiana Corn and Soybean Association. We had Josh Trineri from Indiana Pork, and we had Maggie Daly from Indiana Beef. We're all in the class talking about what's going on for their commodities. What's the business behind the commodities and how to get involved. And tonight, the class that was meeting right before I came over here, we had representatives from Bain Welker and Centera. We're in there talking about precision ag. We've had Bex has been in there talking about their precision agriculture. Koenig is going to be coming in. Purdue Quad Squad is going to be coming in. But getting these people to come in and talk about it so that they get to hear from these people, and these students are being able to hear from people that are using this every single day. What's the real life examples and things that are going on? And I'm going to show you some examples, more of that here in just a little bit. Okay. We've got a cool program just to mention. We've got the information over here called Gift of Grain, an opportunity to support Ivy Tech, where you can actually take a load of grain to the elevator and designate it for the agriculture program and support there. So we've got more information on that. Talk about that another time. But I mentioned the dual credit classes. And so I got a hold of our dual credit coordinator and I said, hey, tell me what our numbers are for here in Richmond for dual credit. And they sent me back the number of schools, the number of classes, the number of students that we have enrolled. And I looked at it and I emailed back and I said, I just needed agriculture. I didn't want every dual credit program. And they go, no, this is just agriculture. So the schools right around this area that we've got. There are 14 high schools around this part of Indiana doing dual credit in agriculture. So these high school students, Western Wayne's offering this, Lincoln's got dual credit classes. And so those students can take those classes and get Ivy Tech credit at the same time. These are agriculture classes. So 14 high schools. There are 56 classes total being offered around this part of the state, just this part of the state. Now, I'm not counting the other 6 ag programs. Just here. 56 classes in agriculture being offered for high schoolers to get Ivy Tech credit. And this is what really blew my mind. Now, keep in mind with this next number I'm going to show you. If a student is taking 2 dual credit classes, they count as 2 in this, okay? 700 high school agriculture students. Each of them taking a 3-credit college class for free. What an opportunity, right? We were pretty excited, and we know several schools that are coming on again next year, adding more to that. Now, Richmond specific here, just the numbers. The last few years, our numbers have been going up. We're at our highest enrollment that we've ever had in the last few years. I've been there about 4 years now, the highest enrollment we've had. Really excited about those opportunities. Part of that is the new greenhouse. Part of it is just creating awareness. Part of it is people recognizing, being responsible in their educational choices and their finances behind that. And these numbers I actually pulled up a little over a week ago in there, and those numbers have actually gone up because I know some other students have added classes. We have 8-week classes. So March 4th and 6th, right in there, that 4th and 6th right there, that's the final week of this 8 weeks. Got a week of spring break, and then the second 8 weeks started. And I know several students have added in that second 8 weeks. So our numbers are even higher than this. The numbers in there, we're not going to dwell on this, but simply to show you the fact that we are very, very close to being even on male and females within our program. And when we looked across the campus, of the Richmond campus, on the numbers in there, agriculture is in the top 2 to 3 of that balance between male and female. So it's been very interesting to have those come in, and it's great to see the discussions that come out of that and the work that goes in there. Here's my geography. Now, technically, for Richmond, our geography is Randolph, Wayne, Henry, Rush, Fayette, and Union counties. So technically, right in here. But you remember, I also mentioned those on that map. I said that Columbus, Marion, and Fort Wayne are the other closest ag programs. So we've got students that want to come and study. So they're coming from all these counties. Interesting little bit of trivia for you as well. Preble, Butler, and Darke County, we count them as in-state. So those people can come across the border and not have to pay extra coming for Ivy Tech. I've been teaching for 20-some years. I've taught junior high and high school. I've taught different places. I've taught public and private school. I love what I'm doing here. My wife asked me one time, would you ever look at going to another college? And I said, why? We were asked recently, why do you teach at Ivy Tech? And I said, because it's family. I said, I've got brothers and sisters here. I've got aunts and uncles. I've got crazy relatives. But we all love and support each other. And the opportunity to make a difference in the local community is phenomenal. To be able to make a difference in the economy of Indiana is amazing. So thank you very much.